Shane Ardern.
I move that the question be now put.
I'll hear Ian Lees-Galloway.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr Chair. Wise choice. Like my colleague, Mr Hipkins, I am also a former Student Association President. Unlike Mr Hipkins, I did not have my own copy of the Education Act under my bed. But I obviously wasn't working hard enough. But I have managed to get my hands on a copy of the Act. And, Mr Chair, I'm going to argue 2 points, really. One is that this bill is contrary to the Principal Act, which is amended. It's contrary to the object of the provisions relating to tertiary education in Section 159 AAA. And also that if you look at Section 229B, which relates to initiating change relating to compulsory membership of student association, that the bill is actually unnecessary if you look at that part of the Principal Act, which is being amended as noted in Clause 3. So the object of provisions relating to tertiary education are that we develop a tertiary education system that contributes to the development of cultural and intellectual life in New Zealand and responds to the needs of learners, stakeholders and the nation in order to foster a skilled, knowledgeable population over time. And it will come as no surprise that I want to focus on that area, responding to the needs of learners and stakeholders, because that is actually what the Student Association allows the university or the polytechnic or the wānanga or the PTE to be able to do. It offers a voice for the students, and it also offers a single point of contact for the tertiary institution to ensure that it is responding to the needs of learners and stakeholders, those particular stakeholders. So by undermining student associations, and let's be honest, that's what this bill actually does, because if we didn't want to undermine student associations, then the government would have agreed to our amendments on the commencement, so that is clearly the goal. That by undermining student associations and making it more difficult for them to operate, this bill is actually contrary to that requirement that the institutions are able to respond to the needs of learners and stakeholders. Because if you have no organisation which represents those students, then you have no way of the university actually being able to understand the views of all of those stakeholders. There are thousands of students at most universities, and there is no way that the university is going to want to waste time trying to sort of survey these students to get an idea if it's responding to its needs. It needs that student association to be the conduit for that point of view. So in that way, I think this bill is actually quite contrary to that particular part of the Principal Act. But I think the main bit is that this bill is completely unnecessary. If we look at Section 229B, which relates to initiating change relating to compulsory members of student associations, the students of an institution at which membership of a students' association is compulsory may request the council to conduct a vote of all students at the institution on whether membership of the student association should continue to be compulsory. And if that referendum turns out that most of the students at the student association want it to be at the university want the student association to be voluntary, then it goes voluntary. Job's done. There is absolutely no need for this bill whatsoever. And indeed, the contrary proposal is true, in that if there is no student association at a tertiary institute, or at least there's no compulsory one, and the students request a referendum on that question, and more than 50% of the students want to introduce a compulsory student association, then that can happen too. And it can only happen if there is a petition with 10% of the student vote. So that's actually far more legitimate than what we have right now, because this bill has only come about because a tiny, very narrow section of the student population, i.e. ACT on campus, have lobbied the member in the chair and have managed to get her to push this piece of legislation through. There were no petitions of 1%, 2%, 5%, 10%, 20% of the students in tertiary education. There was no call for this. So it's actually placed in legislation currently without any need for change at all that any changes to student associations' status can only be initiated if there is, Mr Chair.
Honourable David Carter.